Tiny phone people, as some of you may know, I've actually teamed up with one of the largest plant suppliers and growers in the Netherlands, Plants.com. After letting them know that we had to provide the world with the most affordable, unusual and rare plant boxes ever, our mission was set out clearly. A list of plants that I love was created and then divided into two lists. One for the tiny baby box and the second for the bigger baby box. Each box is packed with a load of unusual and rare plants for your pleasure. And on top of that, we've also filled it with love. In today's episode, I'll be filming what you get in the big baby box, apart from the 40% discount. You heard correctly. This box was originally €220 or £200. But for you, my tiny phone people, it's now only £128 or €150. You may be wondering why I'm sat cross-legged on the table. Felt like this gave the box a good representation of size. Right, let's get into this. Simply follow the instructions on this large box. Open here and open here. Prepare yourselves. The boxes are sturdy and withheld within the cube below, ensuring its safety upon arrival at your house. Right, let's have a closer look at what we've got. First up, wrapped in this beautiful brown paper with a bit of string, is a plant that everybody always wants. It doesn't devalue over time, and even though it was created by man, and one cannot find it in nature, it turns me on like no other. Tiny phone people, I give you the Monstera Thai constellation. I'll stick with size order and work my way down. Next up on the list is a highly underrated plant, one that many haven't heard of, but one that only gets better with age. Like a fine wine, I present you with the Philodendron Gladhands. Allow me to show you what one looks like a few weeks in. The next four plants live truly up to their name, and hence why we call this box the baby box. You'll find a baby variegated Alocasia frydek. It's strange, the name frydek actually stands for the variegated version, but it's become so common to call the frydek the non-variegated one that it kind of stuck within the community. Next up is a baby Perisio Verde. Once again, I'll be showing you what this looks like when it grows up. Needless to say, the mature leaves can get larger than I. Here we have a baby variegated Ring of Fire, and as it matures, the jungle boogie develops into a saw-like leaf. And finally, the queen herself, a baby Anthurium warwickianum. Let's dive into some care tips while I pop these up. The queen Anthurium, a lot like most Anthuriums, prefer high humidity. I would always aim for 80% or above in order to allow your plant to thrive. Now, Anthuriums can be acclimatized to normal household humidity of 60 degrees. However, I've always had a greater success in higher humidity. Once again, after going through these care tips, I shall show you what these plants look like grown up. Anthurium roots are a lot like the roots of orchids. They need more oxygen surrounding their roots and don't like to dry out completely. The best substrate for this type of plant will definitely be highly aerated, allowing oxygen to penetrate through to the roots. Personally, I opt for a mix of perlite, vermiculite, pine bark, cocoa fiber, worm castings, and compost. I also add in a tiny bit of sphagnum moss to retain moisture. I found that these pots with holes in the side allows Anthuriums to truly thrive. Oxygen can penetrate through every single one of these exterior holes. As for lighting and heat, the Queen Anthurium enjoys a bit of sunshine, but mainly morning or late afternoon. South-facing windows are a no-go, as these velvety leaves will dry and crisp. Bright, indirect light is what we're aiming for. A humid and warm environment will simply better the conditions for this plant. Next up, we'll be dealing with the Ring of Fire. Similar to all of these mini plug plants, I advise you to remove the outer lining. Philodendrons are generally very hardy plants and can withstand drying out a lot more than any Anthurium. Variegated plants do enjoy a little bit more sun, but once again, like Icarus, too close and its wings shall burn. You can allow this plant to dry and then simply water it again. Plenty of indirect light and your plant shall thrive. Next up, the Philodendron Perisio Verde. This plant's variegation is not chimeric. However, I found over time that it's heat dependent. Allowing your home to get too cold will subsequently reflect on the variegation on the plant's leaves, from mottled to fully green. This isn't like an unstable variegation, where you need to cut it back to the stem. By simply supplying a warmer environment, the variegation shall return. With my own plant, I noticed the difference. During winter months, the leaves it produces are all green, and during the summer, it reverts back to its beautiful mottled appearance. The variegated Alocasia frydek, or simply the frydek. Whether you love them or hate them, one still can't deny this Alocasia's beauty. As with all Alocasias, they prefer remaining moist at all times. Allowing them to dry out will simply make them lose leaves. However, leave them sitting in a soggy pool of water, and thou shalt die. The easiest way to make Alocasias thrive is bright light and a warm, humid environment. However, these will adapt to anybody's household, including those whose humidity drops to 30%. The two larger plants have already ample space in these pots, and after a very good watering with some nice fertilizer, I shall leave all of these in a nice, bright, warm spot, allowing them a good week to recover from their travels and allow all leaves to open and flatten out. The Philodendron Gladhans lives up to any philodendron. It's easy, it's hardy, and it's nearly unkillable. It'll show signs of drying out as leaves will start to wilt. However, given a little drop of water, bastard perks straight back up again. These are climbers, so give them something to attach to. Personally, whether it's a moist pole or a dried out piece of wood, both work. Attach it tightly, but not too tightly, with a zip tie or Velcro tape. Hell, sellotape it if the need be. Right. Let's go check out what the bigger versions of these puppies look like. Number 1, the Monstera Thai constellation. Number 2, the Philodendron Ring of Fire. And here an even more mature, non-variegated version, which you may know as the Philodendron Narrow or Jungle Boogie. Right, follow me. This is the Philodendron Parisio Verde. As mentioned before, this fucker gets big. Its winter leaves are green and less mottled, whereas just underneath, its summer leaves are highly variegated and mottled. And here, the very underrated Philodendron Gladhans. Its oak-like leaves mature over time, becoming even more tree-like and extending in size to over 2 foot. And finally, the queen, my darling Warwickwianum. This puppy sizes up to over 2 meters in length, not to mention the extreme girth. As for the frydek, I didn't have one, so we'll be growing that puppy from a baby. And there we have it, the big baby box revealed. With limited amounts, I'd say scurry over to plants.com and get yours now before they run out. One love, tiny friend.